building state-of-the-art light and straight stunt plane in a class. So every Monday night since September, we've been meeting at Scott's place, and we've been building planes. And we're all building basically the same plane. It's a plane that was derived from a Genesis, basically Genesis numbers and airfoils, a little bit of Scott's construction into the plans. And he did give us the latitude. We could do any kind of tips, canopy or rudder, wheel pants, stuff like that. Anything but the basic structure we could mess around with a little bit.
Well, you sure did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. This is ultimately going to be a semi-scale Stuka. It's going to have a Stuka paint job on it. And we've got, I think, one that's almost true to form Genesis, and we've got several others. They all look a little bit different. But basically all a Genesis. It's a 35 size ship, nice and light and straight. This one weighs 38 ounces right now. Ready to start finishing. And that's about it, I guess. Different engine in each one of them. Scott has really done a lot for us. I mean, we usually get down there about 4 in the afternoon, and we're there until 11, 12, depends on whether it's a good night or a bad night. And plane is our homework and trying to keep up with the rest of the class.
You added a little bit more rudder area than the original airplane, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we talked a lot about rudders, no rudder versus rudder. And
this is better.
Scott did point out that even Bob Hunt is putting rudders on them these days.
Birds don't have rudders.
Any other questions?
That's good. What engine you got in there, Noel?
You ever see a bird?
This is a Fox 40. It's reworked by a guy out in Wichita, Kansas, Lou Ward. I haven't run it yet, but I've talked to a bunch of people with the Sky Engines in Shreveport who rave about his Fox 40. They really think it's a good running engine. So we'll see. Yeah.
You know what he did to it? What kind of rework he did?
Basically, lowered the cylinder and retimed it.
Is that a 9-year-old?
This is a ball bearing ABC Schnurley 40. He runs a 55-ounce Eindecker that's his own design, and they tell me he runs a pattern on a 4-cycle, no problem. I'm hoping to haul this thing. We've got everything from OS 32 to Enya 40, Super Magnum, a Fox, 40 FP. I think they're all different engines in here. I don't think anybody's using the same engine, right?
Of course, Scotty's falling further and further behind on his.
Yeah, we're way ahead of Scott.
Yeah.
He's too busy.
That's not new.
Trying to keep up. Okay.
Thanks, Noel. We've heard a lot today about Concours, and we have past Concours winners here. And next is an airplane, just looking at it, that, boy, it has all over it written future Concours. Even if I am prejudiced. Vic Macalusa has been around quite a while, and he was gone for a while. He got in the boats.
He's still gone.
And he's going away again.
You got no respect for me.
That's right. He's really,
Now we're rolling.
boy, look at him. He is gone.
Just say no, Vic.
Just say no, right.
Never said no to anything in his life.
Anyway, in the early
haven't say that in front of my wife.
Just introduce it.
in the early 70s, I think, was it 73?
By that time I was out, 70, 71, 72.
When did the Crusader article come out?
70.
70, okay. They just rewrote the nostalgia rules and blotted you out, Paul. Because it's no longer 25 years, now the cutoff is 68. And if you want to change that, you're going to have to write the pamphlet and voice more opinion. But anyway, Flying Models covered, they had a unique magazine that month. in 1970. I can't remember what month it is. Pardon?
It was in American
Oh,
model.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Bob.
The F-14 was.
That's what I get for not having it with me.
This one's gonna be a flying model.
Good. But it was a unique issue because it had Billy Suarez's F4 and it had Vic Macalusso's Crusader. And anyone who has ever really taken a close look at Vic's work, I think you'll agree, again, we have Concourse quality in everything Vic does. And I think we're very lucky that last year he decided to rejoin the troops. So Vic is going to talk about the new grown-up Crusader and various finishing and detailing techniques. Vic?
That introduction was good enough for my presentation. Thank you. I'm done. Only kidding. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm honored to be standing here in front of all of you. I have been away a long time, and a lot of technology and ability has passed by. As Joe Adamusco pointed out earlier today, all of you that enabled me to do what I'm capable of doing, and hopefully we can all support each other in this way and really make the event progress. But what I'd like to talk about right now is more of a philosophical aspect of stunt rather than design or anything else like that. What I'd like to point out is that these two airplanes sitting here on the table aerodynamically are identical. I think you've all had a chance to look at them, and that's easily recognized as an SV-11, but so's this. Now, what makes this an SV-11? The almost white bottom. Steve, you missed that, huh?
What? How come the wings bad?
I'm going to get to that. Those hard outside corners kind of do that, yeah. All right, but basically what this airplane is, I just laid a Crusader fuselage right on top of SV-11 plans, put the wing a little higher than it normally is, dropped the stab a little lower, and started to cut wood. The point I'm trying to bring out with this is that there's a lot of people who fly the event that also like scale-looking airplanes. Obviously, I'm one of them. And the nice part about it is that you don't have to get radical. You really don't have to come up with some crazy airplane with the stab in the front and the wing in the back. And you can come out with something that looks like a jet. I happen to like jets, but there's nothing wrong with a World War II type aircraft with the wing on the bottom. What this design philosophy does is it enables you to, and don't think I had a vision 25 years ago that we were going to be flying with pipes, because I didn't. I just happened to like the Crusader. But this particular design lends itself perfectly to the installation of a pipe without any modification of the original plans. As you can see, the pipe runs below the wing, in between the landing gear, and exits out the fuselage where it normally would. The entire unit, including engine, pipe, header, and everything else, is slipped in through the front of the aircraft. And very little design modification. There are some construction techniques, which I'm going to detail in a couple of minutes, that enable this type of aircraft to be built using the pipe technology and be built very, very light. Now, there's a lot more on this airplane than there is, say, on that SV-11, but actually the airframe actually came out lighter than the SV-11. What makes it 3 ounces heavier than the SV-11 is the tricycle landing gear. I'm using a heavier motor. We have the added weight of the carbon fiber pipe as opposed to a regular tongue muffler. And we also have the ordnance. It wouldn't be a Crusader without it, believe me. I will not fly this airplane without that. The original flew that way, and there's no reason why this one shouldn't either. All right. What I'd like to point out, though, is if you want to build a scale airplane, a scale type airplane, there's really no reason not to. And I use these two planes as a perfect example. Al Rabe, I credit Al Rabe with my inspiration in building the original Crusader because of his original Mustang and his Bearcat. And my attitude about it at that time is, if the wing will work bent upwards, why won't it work bent downwards? Bent down. The symmetrical airfoils, and my original Crusader proved that aerodynamically it doesn't seem to have any effect. The ordnance aerodynamically, all it adds is drag. And with this particular design, it adds drag on the vertical center of gravity, so we're not really creating a drag condition above or below the, I don't know, the center of drag, if you want to call it that. So, again, the original concept proved that it doesn't seem to have any effect. I flew the plane with the ordnance and without the ordnance. I didn't notice any difference. It turned the same both ways. All right, now I want to get into a couple of construction details of this particular airplane, because I got a lot of questions on it. Well, how do you run the pipe through the fuselage when you got a nose gear and the main gear? All right, it's easy. Using, over the last 20, 25 years, a lot of technology has developed, and carbon fiber is one of the biggest benefits, not only to this aspect of the hobby, but just about every aspect. If you look at this bottom drawing, I don't know if you can see it in the back. I did the best I could to blow. Well, this is just an actual size, but these are like triple size. So
Speak louder if they can't see it.
I'm sorry. Bob Violet Models makes a whole lot of carbon fiber products that we used in the construction of this airplane. And in the nose gear, what I did was, if you look here, this is the tank floor, okay? This area right here is the tank floor. And glued to the tank floor, I have a piece of Bob Violet's carbon fiber landing gear plate. Now, I say a piece of it because these plates are huge. They're designed to be put in the wings of model jets that have to support 15, 20 pounds sometimes. Of course, we don't want to be flying anywhere near that weight. But what I did was, I tried to show it as best I could on a drawing, but I bent the landing gear wire to go around the pipe and come down. And if you look at it from the bottom of the airplane, looking at the tank floor, this is the tank floor from here to here. It's bent so that, of course, there will be no torsional movement on the landing gear, and it's just held in place with nylon landing gear clips. To reinforce, now I didn't use plywood anywhere in the nose of this airplane, and that includes the doublers, by the way. The doublers on the nose of this aircraft are 1/8 inch balsa, as per Randy Smith's instructions in building the SV-11. I found it worked very well. That plane's been flying a year. I don't have a stress crack on it, so I'm convinced that that construction technique works, and it's extremely light. What it is the 1/8 fuselage sides with 1/8 balsa doublers with carbon fiber mat laminated in between it. If any of you don't know what carbon fiber mat is, it's extremely light. Basically what it looks like is black silk span, and it has the texture of black silk span. It's resin impregnated to just keep the fibers together, but when you apply an adhesive, that resin disappears and it becomes part of the structure. And yes?
What did you use to sandwich it? Epoxy, zap?
What I did was, again, someone mentioned before working off a glass table, and that's the way I work. What I do is, I'm going to just touch on this briefly because this is really not part of what I want to talk about. To laminate the sides in the doubler, what I do is I lay a piece of saran wrap down on the glass, lay my fuselage side down on top of that, impregnate the carbon fiber mat with some epoxy resin on a separate piece of glass, and then lift it carefully, lay it on the fuselage side, lay the fuselage doubler on top of that, another layer of saran wrap, another layer of glass, and about 200 pounds of concrete blocks on top of that, and leave that overnight. And I guarantee you by the next morning you have a structure that you'd have to really work to break it. It's very, very strong, and it's extremely light. But getting back to this, what I did was, instead of using plywood for my tank floor, I used 1/8 inch light balsa, contest grade balsa, because actually all you're using that balsa for is a compartment for the tank to slide into, and that is totally reinforced with a layer of carbon fiber up the fuselage side, across, and this is the entire length of the bottom of it, across the tank compartment bottom and then down. And what you have is a tunnel that becomes part of the pipe tunnel. This is all part of your pipe tunnel here. And the carbon fiber coming up one side of the fuselage, across the bottom of the tank floor, and down the other. And when you impregnate that with cyanoacrylate, the thin stuff, it just becomes rock hard, rock strong, and adds practically no weight to the airplane. Okay, now we take that carbon fiber plate that we modified from one of Bob Violet's landing gear plates, and we cut it to size, of course, and fit it in between the fuselage sides and against the bottom of the tank floor. Of course, in the location that you're going to want the landing gear, and this can be moved anywhere you want, this is just a depiction of what you can do. And what's nice about that is that once you glue that in place to the tank floor that already has the carbon fiber on it, you now have carbon fiber being glued to carbon fiber with cyanoacrylate. It becomes one solid unit and it's practically indestructible. You can't rip it out. You'll tear the fuselage sides apart before you'll rip that nose gear mount out. And the beauty of it is it weighs practically nothing. The carbon fiber is practically weightless. It's very, very, very strong and very light. And an additional factor, we're all concerned about weight, is no blind nuts are needed for these landing gear clips. Once the landing gear is positioned in place and the position of your landing gear clips are found, what you do is you just drill holes slightly smaller than the size of the cap head sheet metal screws you're going to use and screw that directly to the carbon fiber plate. You don't need any backing nuts. You don't need any blind nuts. You don't need anything. And it's absolute minimum weight. And as you can see, you got plenty of room to slide that pipe in and out. And that's how the pipe goes in and out of the nose of that airplane. Okay, that's the nose gear. Any questions so far?
Victor, that carbon fiber, is that the CF250 something?
No, I haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh.
The carbon fiber plate is an actual piece. It looks like a piece of black. It looks like one of these propellers.
So it's actually solid carbon?
Yeah, it's solid carbon fiber. It's actually fiber reinforced plastic, but instead of having fiberglass in there, it's carbon fiber. Very, very light, very strong. You can't bend it. It's incredibly strong. Any more questions on this?
How thick is that carbon fiber, the plate?
I don't know exactly, but it's slightly less than an eighth of an inch thick. Okay. By the way, just as an aside, all of the formers, F1, F2 formers and everything else, they're not plywood. They're what they call Bob Violet CF125, which is a 1/8 inch version of the 1/4 inch sample that I'm going to be passing around a little bit later on. Again, it's extremely light, a lot lighter than plywood, and it's indestructible. You can't even twist it or bend it. It's very, very strong, a lot stronger than plywood. Okay. All right. What we got here, again, is just one regular size drawing, because I didn't have a room, and some blow-ups of the actual cross-sections. This is the side of the fuselage directly under the wing where the landing gear is mounted. Okay? What you have here is the fuselage side. Now, my 1/8 inch balsa fuselage sides, of course, go the entire length of the airplane, but the 1/8 doublers come back to just behind the wing. And all of this is that carbon fiber and two 1/8 inch balsa laminate that I was talking about before. It extends from the nose of the airplane all the way back to the flap hinge line. Okay, now there's a product on the market, and I think I have, what do I do with them? Oh, okay. Tom, would you just pass those around as I'm talking? Just, these are small samples because Bob Lampione stole my last piece that I had laying around the house. He wanted to make cowl hold downs out of it. The stuff is $37 million a square foot, and he wants to make hold downs out of it.
I can vouch for this stuff, guys, it's great.
That's
And
my...
he never gives it back, I can
Of course
guarantee
not.
you.
Hey, Bob, can you give me... No.
Yeah, no.
Can't do it.
I'm getting like Muffy.
Oh, no.
I've been away too long. I don't know what that means.
Well, I only
Mike Rogers. The hell you don't, Mike.
Is this something new, Mike?
When do you want?
Okay, getting back to this. Now, with this sample coming around, these are very tiny samples, but this stuff comes in sheets large enough to do anything you want with. But, of course, the more you do, the more it's going to cost. This stuff is very expensive. But I cut out this section here out of the fuselage side. Now, at this point, the fuselage sides and the doublers are exactly 1/4 of an inch thick, maybe plus a tiny bit for the thickness of the carbon fiber mat, but really not enough to make a difference. I cut that section out, and I weighed it. And I don't remember exactly what it weighed, but I also cut the piece of Bob Violet CF250, which is this, it's an 1/4 inch end grain balsa laminate with 14 thousandths carbon fiber laminated on both sides of it. The stuff is indestructible. It is incredibly strong. Okay, now I cut out a piece exactly the same size as the cutout I made in the fuselage, and I weighed it, and it was perhaps almost a gram lighter than the piece that I had already cut out of the fuselage. So now we're already starting out with something lighter than what we started with, or finishing up with something lighter than we started with. Okay, now what I did was, if you look at this, this is like looking from the bottom of the airplane with the bottom block removed. This here is the tunnel for the pipe. What I did was I inlaid this piece of CF250 into the fuselage side. This is the 1/8 inch fuselage side, this is the 1/8 doublet, and that black line represents the carbon fiber laminate. What I did was I just inlaid that piece in right to the side of the fuselage and soaked it with thin CA, instantly bonding this thing to the fuselage. To further reinforce it, what I did was I took a small piece of carbon fiber mat, maybe about 3/8 of an inch larger than the inlet piece, and laminated it to the inside of the fuselage and soaked that with CA. Again, now it became rock hard and is literally the strongest part of that fuselage side at that point. Now, this main gear, of course, as we all know, is going to take up the entire landing shock of the airplane, and I see Jose doing this with his hands, possibly causing the fuselage sides to flex.
No, he always does that.
Well,
He thinks he can fly. He thinks he's a
He does it at
bird.
the right time, anyway. Okay. All right. To eliminate that possibility, and again, I'm putting my faith in technology at this point, what I did was, from the fuselage side, I laminated up along the side. That's this outer section here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like depicting a double layer of carbon fiber. As you can see, it's right here, okay? This is looking from the front of the airplane towards the back, and this here is the pipe tunnel, okay? This is like the largest section of the tuned pipe, which is basically back near the landing gear. Okay, after laminating the carbon fiber onto this CF250 and the fuselage side, I now run a second piece up the fuselage side, across the bottom, or actually the top of the pipe tunnel, and down the other side. Okay, now that has completely formed like a tunnel, or like a sea channel within that fuselage in the area that the landing gear is mounted. Okay, now with that in place, my bottom block goes on, and working with tools, or long tools or whatever, and through the front of the pipe tunnel, I laid another piece of carbon fiber down across the bottom block and laminated it about halfway up the side here and halfway up the side here. So and of course, all of this is soaked with CA. I don't use anything but CA in my building at this point, except for putting in my hinges. That's another story. So what we have now is a complete tunnel. It's like a tube of carbon fiber in the center section of the airplane, from here all the way around underneath this wing, and it's like a carbon fiber tube. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to invite anyone up to come and stress the airplane, but I stake that airplane on the fact that this technology works. And I've tried it. There's no flex in the fuselage sides at all. I've applied more than 3 or 4 times the weight of the airplane to that landing gear, and it does not flex the fuselage sides.
Are we going to see it fly at Lincoln Park?
Yeah. When is Lincoln Park?
I don't know.
This afternoon.
Another hour, yeah.
Well, I got about
4 o'clock.
I have about a gallon of fuel through the motor now, so it's ready. Actually, it's set up to fly. I don't know why.
We know.
Okay. Now, another benefit of this is that if you notice, the landing gear is mounted to the outside of the fuselage. I have blind nuts set into that CF250. Again, more faith in technology, and I've used this stuff over the last 10 years in my radio control building. I know it's strong. I really do, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody in this room if I didn't believe in it. Okay, so what we have is some blind nuts on the inside of the fuselage with the Dural landing gear. By the way, that Dural landing gear is standard SV11 landing gear, just cut right down the middle, and the flanges are bent up so that they'll fit against the fuselage sides at whatever angle you want the gear to come down, and it is just bolted to the side of the fuselage with 440 blind nut, cap screws. Very strong. You don't like the way the landing gear works, you want wider stance, narrower stance, just make up a new set and bolt it right to the side of the fuselage. You have versatility there. You have no interference with the pipe going through the fuselage or anything else, and the only way I would have trusted that is with the carbon fiber technology. Any questions so far? Well, either nobody's listening or I'm
Just-
making
yeah,
my
yeah.
point.
They're all
The
sleeping.
carbon fiber that you're talking about, can we get that from this guy out in California?
George Spar.
There's a lot of people who sell it. I happen to mention Bob Violet because I've dealt with the man extensively over the last few years.
This guy George, by the way, Dick, Bob, Bob will give you the name, Bob. He's actually cheaper. The 12 by 12 sheet that Bob gets, I quote the prices. A 6 by 12 is $30 by Bob Violet. It's 24, I think, by this.
Yeah, aerospace composites.
Yeah.
George Spar is the guy's
George
name.
Spar, that's who I'm trying to think of.
Yeah,
Aerospace.
he's from New England, Ron.
Yeah, he used to be. but
He left because of you.
Bob Violet is $60, it's 48 by Arrow, which is right.
All right, you know, this stuff, we're throwing around numbers, $30, $40, $60. Yes, it is expensive, but the stuff goes a long way.
It's worth it, Vic.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, money is no object when it comes to fame. you know.
Especially when you pay, Steve.
Less than a clear does.
That's right, it's less than a gallon of that clear. But the nice part about it is that you use it selectively. You use it in areas where you need a lot of strength and a lot of lightness, and it goes a long way. You know, the piece that Bob finally stole the last parts of, I've had it around for about 3 years, so.
This all you have left that you're passing around?
That's all Bob has left. My last 1 by 2, that was a cattle hold down for my next airplane.
That's what's going on.
Bob's next plane.
Thanks, boy. Okay. Any questions on the landing gear installation? Okay, let's just go on. Do a little bit of that looks about right theory. Okay, and I say that looks about right is because I base this on no aerodynamic principles other than the fact that it worked for me once before and I don't see why it shouldn't work again. Thank you, really, because I don't know anything about it.
Looks about right.
That's about it. It looks about right.
Buso Technology.
All right. Now, I had Steve Busso make these drawings for me, as you can tell by the detail and the accuracy of them.
You got them upside down.
Doesn't matter.
We all know what center of gravity means, right? Well, I just found out about a day ago. But what we have here is, it's very easy to get the 4F balance of the aircraft, the pitch center of gravity, as we call it. And generally, that's looked at on the side view, and it's a certain amount of inches back from the leading edge of the airplane, you know, leading edge of the wing, depending on where you fly. Everybody's CG is different. This SB-11 I'm flying, I'm actually flying it a lot more tail heavy than Randy Smith specifies, because that's where I like to fly it. But again, that's the 4F center of gravity, and that's something that is, you have a lot of latitude with, you know. There are various ways to change it. I'm not going to go into that. That's not the purpose of this. But what we're also dealing with is a vertical center of gravity on these aircraft. Now, the average stunt configuration has the engine inverted, has the landing gear, of course, on the bottom of the airplane because it's nice to land with the gear down. And I have ask Lampione, he's put it in a few times upside down. He's putting wheels on his rudders already. Okay, now but what we have here is we have the belt crank and the lead outs. Theoretically, this is where we'd like the vertical center of gravity to be, not so much on anywhere on the aeroplane, but where the lead outs exit the wing. We would like the vertical center of gravity to be there. But because of the configuration in the airplanes and the fact that 90% of the heavy stuff is below the belt crank, the actual vertical center of gravity is somewhat below the lead outs on the average stunt ship. Now, these are general numbers. I don't claim to be an aerodynamicist or anything else like that, but just through experience and talking to a lot of people who've had the same experience, this is where it comes in. Generally, quite a bit below the exit point of the lead outs, which are right here. Now, if you've got that vertical center of gravity below the lead outs, which are actually the pivot point, the roll pivot point in this control system, what you have is a vertical vector on the outboard wing. The faster that plane flies, the more centrifugal force you apply to these weights below the point of the lead outs, the more that outboard wing is going to want to come up. Okay? We've accounted for tip weight, I'm assuming that all of the trimming is done. We've accounted for our tip weight and everything else like that. And yet, we noticed that in vertical flight, in horizontal flight with the plane right side up, the outboard wing rises. And if we go inverted, the outboard wing drops. Okay? And again, this is because of that vector in this direction caused by the weight below the vertical center of gravity. That's the only way that I know of. I'm sure there's other people in this room. In fact, Wendy helped me work it out on my SV11 when the first day we flew it. And the only way that I really know of is to tweak the flap. Is to tweak that outboard flap slightly up, to drop that wing back down to level, and if all else works the way it should, when the plane is inverted, the same thing should apply. Yes?
Free flighters have run into the same problem, particularly free flight scale guys, rubber or gas, in that in the pursuit of inherent stability, some of the guys have tried heavy wheels. Heavier wheels to lower the CG, then it'll balance out. But once it gets into a spiral, it gets worse and worse and worse because the wheels want to go out
Right,
further.
because you're acting, the centrifugal force is acting more and more.
Yep.
Okay, because you're increasing that tangent vector.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Again, when I first designed my original Crusader, I had no idea what vertical center of gravity was. That airplane all came together. Everything just seemed to come together just right for that airplane. But in having time to think about it and learning more about what applies to our hobby, I decided that that bent wing could really work to an advantage. Assuming all of the same things apply to that airplane that apply to the SV11, by bending that wing down, I'm now able to bring those lead-outs out on the actual vertical center of gravity. You just lay this on there like this, those lead-outs pass right through the vertical center of gravity. Theoretically, I should not have to tweak a flap on this airplane to get it to fly level in both inverted and right side up. Yes, sir?
Vic, I believe you're using flexible lead-outs.
Yes, I am.
With that kind of an angle, don't you get a binding effect?
No, I use flexible lead-outs on the original Crusader, and that plane had, I would say, conservatively 1,500 flights on it. I noticed no wear, no problem at all.
What do they pass through?
Excuse me?
What do the lead-outs pass through? Is there nylon that...
Yeah, I have nylon blocks. It's your typical adjustable lead-out mechanism with nylon blocks that they pass through.
Now, with that plane flying like this, you got this effect with that lead-out rubbing against the top half of that nylon tubing.
Yeah, you could get a sawing effect, and
I think that's what he's getting.
yeah,
Rubbing.
Again, on the original Crusader, I had the identical setup with flexible lead-outs, and I never noticed the problem.
After the 20,000th flight.
Well, I'm not concerned about it at that point.
Anyway, it goes
Yes,
to
yes, ma'am.
1999.
Andy, your Tucan has solid lead-outs on it? See, Andy's running dihedral also, but he's using solid lead-outs. He's not getting any binding either, so it's minimal either way.
Yeah, I noticed no binding. In fact, feel free to come up after this talk and play with the controls if you like, but just don't bend my arm.
Also, Vic, it's sort of a funny, the opposite of high-tech airplane, but the Bislav also has the belt crank at one place and the lead-outs in another. We use solid lead-outs on that and no binding.
Right.
Same situation.
Yes, Dave?
You get as much binding effect from the yaw of the airplane in a horizontal plane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm glad there's an interaction here because Dave just brought out a point that I never even considered. You know, in adjusting the yaw angle of the airplane, you'd get a similar binding. And
Another thing on your article CG.
yeah,
The CG also comes in when you turn, if you've got more mass below your thrust line.
right.
As you turn going this way, all that mass slows that turn down. As you turn going this way,
It speeds it up. Right.
a lot of turning
Uneven corners.
a faster outside.
Okay, we can kick this theory around all day, and I think every one of us has a pretty accurate assessment of what it's going to do. But basically, with this type of design, and you can do it with a jet with anhedral or configuration like a Bearcat or a Sea Fury, you could mount the engine right side up and run a pipe over the top of the wing. There's nothing to say you can't do that. So you get a lot of design latitude, and anyone who has a propensity for scale type stunt ships, there's an option that you have. And the nice part about it is that, to a point, I'm sure, but with the ranges that we're dealing with, you could bend that wing to any extent you want to bring those lead outs out on any kind of theoretical CG that you come up with. And if you really want to fine tune it, you can also put a vertical adjustment on your lead outs also, you know, to really further fine tune it. I personally don't want to take it that far, but it's a possibility. Yes?
Yes, what I was thinking about is with the anhedral of the wings, do you have a problem with taking off and landing where it seemed like the inboard wing would want to come up higher than the outboard, and you wouldn't come in cocked on your landing?
Again, all of these questions came up when I designed the original Crusader, and I have to say, none of the answers were mine. It's not an original idea. I went back to Al Rabe, and Al Rabe was experimenting with bent wings 2 to 3 years before my original design, and he experienced none of those problems. I built my airplane, experienced none of those problems. That wing stays perfectly flat, even though it's hard to tell. With the wing bent, it's really hard to tell if it's straight or not. What I generally do is the same thing everybody else does, is I line up on the wheels. If I see one wheel higher than the other, or lower than the other, I know what angle my plane is flying at in roll mode. But that, with this design, all that is a function of tip weight at that point, because you can bring those lead outs out on a theoretical vertical CG.
It just seemed to me that your lead outs and your lines would want to go in one straight line.
Doesn't. Because you're dealing with all kinds of pendulum effects and everything else. It all evens out. With this design, this vector disappears. It becomes effectively zero. You know, with proper design consideration. Yes?
I think one important point, you're talking about very small forces here compared to the lifting force of the wing.
Right.
And that wing, the lifting forces will balance out. You've got a little tiny difference like this in your CG times a long moment of your wing sticking out. Any little twist in your wing, but I'll take that right away.
Right. You know, and again, you know, there's always the tweaking method to do it, but effectively, this design quirk, if you want to call it that, removes the necessity to tweak flaps. The roll levelness of the aircraft should be just accountable to tip weight at that point. Yes, Steve?
Looking at, for example, Bob Barron's Humbug last year at the Nats, his lead-out exit point was below the apex of the curve of the tip. To do just that, to lower the center of the vertical CG at the lead-out exit point, it was below the widest point at the tip. That's what he does.
Just to expand on that, he does that because it's an inline airplane. And being an inline airplane, all the major components are dropping down closer to the down further on the inline. Actually, if I might be incorrect, but somebody correct me if I am. I have built a couple of pattern masters that have never needed a flap tweak because the vertical CG was right on off the board. And the reason for that is because the tail is put up higher, and the engine is dropped down, obviously, but the wing is also raised up above the engine center line. So there is a balance of vertical CG in the straight line wing configuration. So it's quite possible to do that. I think what you've got there with the dihedral wing, you've got a balance because you're actually raising the wing up and then drawing the wing down again, thereby averaging the vertical CG on the wing.
There's another factor here. I'm glad you brought the aspect of the high wing up. There's another factor here which I'm just going to touch on because it's just an intuition of mine, is that by raising the wing up, you now raise the center of drag of the airplane. And that can account for the drag of the landing gear. The ordnance, maybe, maybe not. I really can't tell. I haven't conducted any experiments. All I know is that with the experience I had with the first Crusader, it had no adverse effect on the aircraft at all. Bobby Hunt had a 105 Thunder Chief jet that he had, and he had problems with that airplane. What was it, outsides or insides, Bob?
What's that?
Your Thunder Chief, your 105. You say you had a problem with it turning one way or the other, and the drop tanks.
Well, it wasn't so much a problem turning one way or the other. The airplane just didn't seem to fly well at all until I put the drop tanks on, and then it flew great. It needed I think what it was is it just needed the drag to allow me to run the motor a little stronger.
Well, perhaps, but in any case, there's an example of where it actually enhances performance.
Well, Bob Gieske says that he'll never fly a plane without wheel cans because they definitely need the drag.
They do need
The plane flies better with the wheel cans than without.
Another note on drag, Cassell's Spectron Columbia, you won back-to-back nats with. That had this strakes in front of the wing with flat plates at a very shallow angle.
That's like my F-14 design, that plane.
correct.
I only had 10 flights on the airplane.
He
before
said
snapped
it made the engine run harder, and it made it more consistent.
That's right.
Well, he even said that he copied that to a Vic. Your plans are on his wall.
Really?
With his
Vic-
spectrum drawn right over it.
It's nice to know. Hey, you're looking at an SV11 right here, with an SV11 with drop tags. What can I say?
That's what we all did years ago with George Aldrich's number. Right?
Okay, all right.
Excuse me, Vic,
Yeah.
while we're on the subject of drag, there's another point that is very much overlooked because people will say, yeah, Patternmaster is good or Patternmaster is bad. You'll notice over the years the airfoils have gotten thicker.
That's right.
And while it gives us the ability to carry more weight or more size, anytime you increase lift, you're also increasing drag. And one of the things that the Patternmaster has going for it is that you've got a play between power, the right amount of power versus the right amount of drag. So it's all critical factors in the design.
But you gotta have the power.
Absolutely.
Well, the
Or you gotta
advantage
build
is...
them like...
You know,
What a money.
you know,
Right.
you know what's happening here? There's a little polarization going, and my attitude about it and my philosophy about stunt is that whether it's a Patternmaster, an SV11, a Nobla, a Chipmunk, it all works.
But Vic, if you take a PM wing, the point he's making,
Yeah.
if you take a PM route template and lay an SV11 and basically Paul Walker's plane over it, there isn't a pencil line of difference.
Okay.
There are other subtle differences, of course, but they all come, and the Patternmaster's been around for 25 years. So it's really like, when Bob and I did this, in fact, didn't we do it? We did it in your cellar, didn't we? Or somewhere, I don't know.
We did it at Jimmy's house.
At Jimmy's house, yeah, and we just laid all three of them, right? And if you mixed them up and didn't write which was what, you wouldn't know.
Well, it all boils- it all
So it's
boils
crazy
down
to argue who invented it,
No,
because
there's
it's
no
been
argument.
around for a
What
long
I'm
time.
saying is it all works.
Of course it works.
And it all boils down to the flight and philosophy. Hey, there's no difference between that airplane or a Patternmaster or his Cardinal or anything else like that.
No,
if
they're
it
real
works
close.
for
Real
you.
close.
So that's the major point because we can take another look at it and we can look at, and Bob can back this up, Billy Werwich and Bob are a little bit thinner percentage-wise.
Right.
And again, it's the combination of weight versus power versus drag, the whole package. And that whole package together works for the individual. And that's what counts.
Well, I'll tell you, being away from it for 23 years and coming back and seeing how far the technology has gone with motors, propellers, and everything else, the airframe technology hasn't really changed that much. It really hasn't.
That's right.
Hey, Vic,
Gravity hasn't changed.
about halfway through the flying season this year, could you dump the being away with it excuse, okay, you're back in.
Why don't you write on your wing, Vic? I'm back. For good.
Yeah, for good. All right, there's no more questions. I just want to get on to a real quick demonstration and have a raffle for a $20 gift certificate of these dry transfers that I'm about ready to demonstrate for you. And I'm really running long with this, so I don't want to take too much time. At this year's Ram Show, I was wandering through the booths and I came across a company called Dry Set. They're down in Kentucky, and what they do is they produce a line of dry transfers similar to Electroset or Chart Pack or anything else that's been used over the years. With one difference, they come up with, they have insignias, they have nomenclature. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll hold it up. Okay, nomenclature, just, no push. You don't have to put it on individual letters at a time. It's all there for you with symbols and anything else that you may want to use to decorate your plane. We have a jet nomenclature. You notice I've used these. A jet nomenclature sheet, which I used extensively on this Crusader. And this particular sheet here has a whole bunch of things on it, cautions with paragraphs literally written on it, things that you don't have to put a letter at a time on. Now you're gonna say, oh boy, here we go again, dents all over the airplane. Not with this stuff, and I'll show you, when I show you this demonstration, you'll see why. They also have just simple letter sheets. This happens to be larger letters, and what I'm gonna do with this Crusader is point out that just about everything on this airplane, including the stars and bars, the rescue, the caution triangles, the jet intake placard here, the stars and bars on the wing. Now those are 4 inches in diameter. And the only thing that's not a dry transfer on this airplane is the Navy written on the wings and the writing on the tail. That was done with Frisket paper. Steve covered that 2 years ago, I believe. Everything else is dry transfer. If you look at the bottom of the airplane, the almost white bottom, you'll see all of these paragraphs literally written on there. And if you take a real good close look at the airplane, you won't find a dent on it.
Vic, is
Yes.
it a light enough touch so you can sneak up on your wife and tattoo her while she's sleeping?
Well, I already put a star in bar. I already did it, and we had to get rid of it.
Tonight.
I put it over the snake tattoo.
The Harley tattoo.
The funny part is that she's showing it off to everyone.
Everybody.
Everybody. All right, what I'm going to do now, and the reason why I'm pointing this stuff out is that I had a real long talk with this gentleman, and I told him that if this didn't work, I was going to drive to Kentucky and kill him because I was staking an airplane on it. Well, what they have now is these backing sheets that this thing is applied, these are applied to, are silicone backed. Now, don't get nervous when you hear the word silicone. Right away you think of fish eyes. There's a way around it.
Breast implants.
Excuse me?
Breast implants.
If I was to shake this sheet very hard, I would say half of these things would fall off of it. That's how easily they transfer. And I'm going to show you something. You've heard the term, oh, it transfers with finger pressure. How much have you ever seen one of that? I'm going to show you. Hold on. By the way, these two stars and bars were acquired yesterday, and I did that for a reason, okay? Can somebody hold this?
Yeah, hold on.
All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer.
Who's got that one?
Huh?
It's got dihedral in it.
You bought it, right? You bought it from somebody.
I'm going to transfer this one right here onto this wing using just finger pressure. I might have to just touch it with a burnishing tool. But if any of you are familiar with ARF, radio control airplanes, what this is a foam laminate, styrofoam laminate with just a color piece of plastic over it. There is nothing that dents easier than this. That alone just put 3 dents in the thing, okay? They're there. Now, let me just show you this. You can see there's nothing on the bottom of the wing right now. I'm going to lay this on here, and I'm just going to rub it with my finger. Okay, I'm just going to lift the sheet up real easy. And there it is. It just transferred. There's no dents, and there's nothing like that. These dry transfers, now I'm not going to do another one because this is very expensive stuff. What's that? Yeah. These dry transfers are epoxy-based ink. They're not a solvent-based thing. This transfer right here is fuel-proof. You can just take it right out now and go fly with it. You can pour raw fuel on it after a period of about 6 hours because there's an adhesive on here that takes about 6 hours to set. Now, for our purposes, it has no effect at all. We're really not concerned about the adhesive because we lay clear over it. If you take a real close look at the airplane, now we're talking about a 4.5-inch dry transfer there. Actually, it's almost 6 inches from the ends of the bars. And I got almost a gallon of clear over it, lacquer thinner, all kinds of stuff. Had absolutely no effect on the dry transfer. What I've got here, hold this again, please. This is Taft's 10% nitro fuel, okay?
Watch it, Noel.
Huh? All right. There's no covering over this at all. I'm just pouring that fuel directly onto those dry transfers, okay? Now,
I'll light it, like the TV.
Now we just let it sit there for a minute or two. Now, you know what nitro does to the finish, right? Okay, especially, I don't know if you've ever poured nitro over raw Letraset, but
Oh, yeah, every day.
their history, okay? Okay, now I'm rubbing this real hard.
How does it withstand a Windex?
Takes it right off.
And as you-
mopping clothes do to it.
We're all wondering that, Ron.
As you can see, the nitro had absolutely no effect. Not that this demonstration means anything to us, but what the point I'm trying to make is that you could lay epoxy thinner over it, enamel thinner, lacquer thinner, anything you want. It's not going to affect it because the ink is epoxy-based. It's not petroleum-based.
You got this guy's business card?
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff.
You just put the light coat right on top of that.
Yeah, in fact, just take a look. All of the insignias on this airplane have at least maybe 12, 13 coats of clear over it.
And you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about if there's a lot of thinner in the light coat or anything like that?
No, what it will do is it will soften the application, but it won't affect it in any way.
As long as you don't touch it, just let it dry and then it stays.
Yeah, but it doesn't even affect it that much, Mike. You know, I really, what I did was before I trusted this guy, I did it on another surface, and, you know, as long as it takes the dope to dry, that's how long this is affected by it, and that's it.
Let it dry 6 hours, then put the clear on.
No, you can put the clear right over it. What I'm saying is, in this condition, you can apply it, and then 6 hours later, go pour fuel on it if you want, and it's not going to affect it. That's just, you know, for someone who wants to put these on their plane and not lay clear over it or anything else like that, perfectly capable of doing it. And should you decide to get involved with these, when you speak to this guy, Mike Anderson, who was running the show down there, specify that you want it on silicone backing sheets. And all of these applications, just the same way as I transferred this with finger pressure, all the rest of them will transfer. You may have to, on the smaller ones, like the writing with all of the paragraphs and everything, you may have to just touch it up, or perhaps pre-release it onto a backing sheet slightly. You don't have to really get involved with it.
Just the opposite of Ledger said, where the small stuff comes off easy,
Yeah.
and the large stuff comes off hard.
No, the stars and bars on the wing, I actually had to handle the sheet very carefully, otherwise they would have fallen off the sheet. So it's really fantastic stuff if this is what you want to do.
Vic, get this guy into Stunt News as an advertiser.
I plan on it.
Please.
I wanted to just give this demonstration first to see what kind of reaction. Yes, sir.
I noticed you're going around some compound curves with these things. Any
That's right.
problem there?
No problem at all. In fact, I'm glad you brought that out.
Hey, let's do
Especially when you're doing tattoos, it's a real problem.
This thing here, right, especially when you go You notice this airplane simulates an in-flight refueling probe, which is a compound curve all around, and this application went over the worst part of that compound curve without any problem at all. What you have to do is you have to be a little bit more careful and work it in with your finger. It's fine.
Do you have any bubbling problems with the larger stars?
None whatsoever.
4-inch or anything?
You know, some gentleman before was kind enough to point out that I got a little bubble over here on the wing. And
Anybody we know?
that was a result of my carelessness, not a result of the
We're gonna point that out in
soldered bar,
Concourse,
because if you look at the bottom one, you can't really see it, but if you get up close and look at the bottom one, it's absolutely perfect.
Vic, you going to the Nats with this?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you doing appearance judging there, Steve?
No.
Now might be a good time to bring it up.
They import it.
Steve, that's the one point I'm trying to That's the one. All right, now, as part of what?
Anything special, you mentioned silicone as a potential problem and said there's a way around it.
Well,
I didn't get the way around.
The way around is there is no way around. There's no problem with it.
Okay.
Okay, I used the normal amount of fisheye killer in my clear, and I sprayed it over all of these applications. We had absolutely no problem whatsoever. Even with this, even though it's sitting on a silicone back sheet, it had no effect on it whatsoever. With the enamels, I can't say anything about it, but with the lacquers, there was no problem. Yes, Paul?
Can you Repsol directly over the insignia to make sure you get anything off?
Yes, but after that 6 hours, not before the 6 hours. Well, I can't say not before the 6 hours. I waited the 6 hours before I tried it. I'm glad you brought that point up, Bob. Excuse me?
You can't Repsol that.
Oh, yeah, you can. But, you know, like any other dry transfer application, you have to be careful around the edges, because if an edge isn't completely down, you're liable to hook it with the cloth and just chip an edge. In fact, if you look at some of the samples that I have on that wing, I have chipped edges, but it's not a result of the quality of the transfer. It was my carelessness.
Do you have any chipped edges on the plane?
Excuse me? Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Put one of those transfers on.
Yeah.
Make a mistake. How easy is it to get it off?
That's another little experiment I conducted. It's pretty hard to get them off. It really is. The best way I've seen was to soak them real good with Prepsol and go with like a credit card and just scrape them off with a credit card. It does come off, and the Prepsol keeps it from re-sticking.
Masking tape won't pull them off?
I never tried that.
We could try it now if you want.
All right. Does anybody have any masking tape? Let's try it.
Just try it on the bottom of the Crusader.
Yeah.
What about the top of the outboard wing? Give me some duct tape.
Yes.
I, for one, happen to be thrilled to see that Crusader. I'm in love with them. And from the stunt world, thanks for coming back.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Not done yet. Now I got something to give back to you guys. All right, what I have courtesy of Dry Set is a $20 gift certificate for these dry transfers. Okay, that's what you all got the red tickets for at the beginning. And along with the gift certificate is a catalog of what they have and an ordering form. Okay?
The sheet is $100 a sheet?
No, no.
Only for
As a matter of fact, all of these sheets that I have here, I got about 6 or 7 of them, cost me a total of, you ready for this? $87.70.
It's a
But
bargain.
it's about $13 a sheet.
That's not much.
It's not much at all, but again,
It's less than a clear.
you know, again, just those 2 4.5-inch stars and bars cost me $13. So
Will we make a
it's,
custom-made
Bring that
sheet
Mustang
with
wing
certain
over there.
things
So we
on
can
it?
get that decal.
yes, he will do custom. Thank you. He will do custom work. And there's no extra charge for the silicone back sheets. Okay, I already, told him that should this stuff be accepted, he's going to have a pretty strong following. So he'll cater to the stunt flyer.
You have to draw him whatever you want, or you send him a picture of it, he takes a picture of it, how's he?
That you'd have to work out with him, Bob. I really don't know, but he will do custom work, and the prices, depending on the artwork, I'm sure. I can't price that out for him.
Yeah, another place over in Chicago is some Aeroloft Designs. Also does custom electroset type things. I think it's a different kind of material.
It is a different kind of material. They don't use epoxy-based ink, and they're twice as expensive.
Are they?
Yes, Aeroloft is very expensive. That's why I approached this guy to see what he could do for us. Okay? Let me just give it one quick shot with the masking tape and see what happens.
Oh, wrong airplane.
Yeah, well, you're right. No. Okay, let's lay it on there. Yeah, all right.
Put it on the one you just put on.
All right, let's just try this one first. No? Doesn't come on.
No, that's good.
All right,
Put it on the one on the bottom.
You got gas in that, though.
All right, this one has no gas on it. I'm really rubbing that tape on now. Yeah, take some of it off. But again, I didn't rub this down. If I burnished it down, I don't know if it would
You didn't
pull
let it dry to 6 hours either. That's
Right.
not a fair test.
Right.
We'll try it later on in the afternoon. 6 hours. Yeah,
Well, that was the question.
You gotta be able to take them off.
Okay, we're just going to have a quick drawing, and then I'm out of here, because I've taken up a lot of time. I'm sorry.
We're not.
Thank you. Okay, who wants to? Tom, you do the honors.
Can I pick my own?
Sure.
Rick, take the Magnum.
Okay. Now, this is strictly for the gift certificate. All right, number 87.
All right.
22. 52.
Oh, oh!
Hey, all right, we got a winner right in the front row.
Hey!
Looks like a fix, doesn't it?
Rolling for life.
Here you go. The guy's name is Mike Anderson to deal with down there, and tell him exactly where you got this. And,
Is his address printed on there? Can I see the?
yes. Yeah. I have, by the way, I have extra flyers here. If anybody wants to take a catalog.
Yeah, give me one, Vic.
I've got maybe only about 7 or 8 of them, so if you're interested, take one. If you're not, that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Let me get one of these for a newsletter.
That's what I got.
You know, I think we just heard from one of the class guys at Stunt. And certainly he's given us a wonderful presentation. Thank you. You know, we're talking about things that are new, things that are old. It's interesting. I have an airplane in my hand that is not in the best of shape. But if you look at it, this is a 30-year-old airplane. It still shows that in the old days they did have three-piece suspensions. This airplane is called the New Yorker. This airplane won the 1960 Nationals in Dallas, Texas. And when we talk about the likes of a Bill Wurlidge, that year this airplane beat Bill Wurlidge. The next year it was just the reverse in the standings. But this was flown by Artie Myers, and this is the airplane. And what's interesting, when you talk about balsa wood doublers, and this airplane is beat up. It has had a lot of flights, but the reason it's really beat up is because Artie used to fly with U Reilly's, and he didn't put the brake pin across the one day. And I believe it was the first Garden State Circle Burner contest. It was in East Patterson. It pulled out the U Reilly, and this airplane went across and went into power lines. And that's why it's a little bit beat up. But it's a part of history, and I'm glad to have it temporarily because I'm going to be doing drawings for it. And we'll make them available. Hopefully they'll be available this fall.
What is that called, Tom?
The New Yorker. And now to give you a little bit more history, John DeTavio has an airplane called the Jerseyman. And obviously it was John's answer to the New Yorker. And even John told me that, so I know that's the truth. Another thing, when you're talking high wings versus low wings, it's interesting, again, what's new, what's old. 1954, Model Airplane News had an article that was published by Bob Palmer and Ted Goyet, G-O-Y-E-T. It was an airplane called the Highboy. It was about 47-inch span. I think the original one had a 19 in it. It was a high-wing airplane. And the philosophy behind it is if you take a look at the normal airplane, your wing is lower than the stab. You turn that, now if you're flying it inverted, you've got a high-wing airplane. And that's the whole philosophy between the high wing. It's not new. But I think the Ann Heathel concept has really done a lot, hopefully, to improve it. Next we have a guy who is everybody's right-hand man. I know he's done a lot of help without any questions asked. He's come to me to help me put things to put together for this stunt form. Joe, you ready? Joe's going to take us back. Now that we've seen Vic, he's going to do some dirty work and show us what some of us looked like, 20 years ago. Joe?
Okay.
Maybe.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Looks like control line is dead. It's coming back. I'm the president of the Flushing Control Line Association, and some of you people have been out to Flushing Meadow Park, which is the old World Fair ground. And I want to tell you that some of our members are here, Jimmy Borelli, Mitch Dressler, Ron Connors, and some other people that are constantly helping us out there at Flushing, which we appreciate.
Move that chair forward.
One thing I want to say is I want to thank the Garden State Circle Burners for keeping Control Line alive. Control Line, not just in stunt, but in scale and Navy carrier and a lot of other facets of Control Line. One important factor that I know they do is that they maintain a field. And a flying field, without a flying field, you haven't got Control Line flying. You haven't got any flying. So the flying field is very important. And I'll tell you that I had stopped building, can we have one meeting, please? I had stopped building Control Line planes or flying Control Line, even though I loved it, but for about 15 years I wasn't doing anything. And in 1965, when the World's Fair closed down in Flushing Meadow Park, I used to drive by the Van Wyck Expressway on the way to work every day. And as I drove by every day, I'd look over to the right there, and I saw some construction guys out there doing work. Then I saw a framework come up, round, 2 frameworks. I saw concrete being laid. I saw a fence go up. And I said, that looks like a control line flying field. I couldn't believe my eyes. They were actually building a control line flying field in Flushing Meadow Park. That was due to about 8 or 10 control line clubs. And there was an association of control line clubs. I don't know the names of all those clubs. There was the Park Control Line Flyers and Deer Park, Queens Stuntmasters, the Roofmeisters. If anybody remembers that club? Yeah. Joe Radel ran it. Circle Burners were in it too. Circle Burners were in it. So there were about 8 clubs that were part of the Control Line Association, and they're the ones that really worked with the politicians of Queens to get that field.
Especially Bill Boss.
Especially Bill Boss. Bill Boss, who I really haven't met, but I've communicated with, and he probably was the motivating factor there. But it's a wonderful field, and that we have it, and that we were exposed to, I would say, thousands of people every weekend that fill that park up and watch us fly these planes, and that's, in a sense, given us some impetus to get new people involved in control line. Some of these slides I'm going to show you go back to the years of 70, 71, and 72. At that time, when I was coming back to flying, I was taking a lot of slide pictures, so I happened to have saved a tray of slides from that time. And you'll see some surprises in here. I was surprised myself when I dug it out of the closet. And I hadn't looked at this tray in about 20 years. I didn't know I had some people in there. I do want to give yourselves a hand to the Garden State Circle Burners for putting this forum on, because this is historic. It's the first time it's on the daytime on a Saturday with lunch. The lunch was great. And how about giving an applause to everybody that had something to do with it? This kind of activity is what keeps us motivated and keeps us interested in the hobby. But not only the activity, but the friendships that are made. And Ron Kahn has mentioned that this morning. I said there were several important things in life. One is having a good wife, good balsa wood. And I said something else, and he says to me, you forgot one thing, and he said, you forgot friends. So friends is really one of the key factors in this. We have such a lot of fun. Ron drives 500 miles just to spend the weekend with me.
Some people are crazy.
He breaks a lot of me. Then he comes in my apartment and makes himself at home, and when he leaves, I got to clean up. Just kidding, Ron. All right. I want to say one more thing. There's a lot of magazines around that have stopped putting in articles on control line flying. They've all gone to RC. But I want to give a hand to Bob Hunt and Flying Models magazine for keeping control line all the time. Okay, so let's get started with the slides. Let me see if there's more words over here. This slide I took at the 1972 Transpo at Dulles Air Force Base, Dulles Air Base in Washington, and they had a Transpo, and this was one of the signs they had up, but they had a lot of displays. So I just took that for an introduction to any slideshow in the future that I might use, and that was taken in 1972, and this is the first time I use it, so I think it's the right thing. Okay. Vic Macaluso's F-14 Tomcat, the Mean Machine. This was at Flushing Meadow Park, and you can see it was a contest. You see a few more planes that are recognizable back there. That's Bob Lampion's, what was that, Bob? F-87?
That was a 59 powers going, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Those aren't dry transfers either.
No, those are all painted on.
Painted on, okay.
That's before I got lazy.
This is the original Crusader, Fox 35. Vic, you want to talk a little bit about this? You already talked about it.
Basically, it was a chipmunk with a
Okay.
big wing.
And this plane, I saw this plane fly. I was there, of course, and it was a fantastic flying plane. And if this one does as well, it'll be terrific.
Joe, we're going to see if we can dim some of the lights a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Singer.
This is young Vic Macaluso. Where was this? This was in a Flushing.
No, that was
Union. This is a Union.
That's in Union, New Jersey.
Okay, oh, that's better with the lights out.
By the way, his nickname back then it should still be a Singer.
All right, yeah, that's brighter. Okay.
Sterling.
Bob was singing. I was.
You're a Singer.
And that's the Tomcat again, yeah. Okay, this is Bob Hunt's, is that right? It's a public park, but
Nice wheel.
grass flying, no concrete field. This is me.
You haven't changed.
You know where this was taken? This is the lost city of the Incas in Machu Picchu in Peru.
Like a drug dealer between a rock and a hard.
Hey Bob, what is this?
That's the, what is it, the 35, I don't know.
That's the 59.
Is that 59?
Saber stunt. Okay, that's what it was. Bob and Lampion. Now this is the lost city of the Incas again. I just threw some of these shots in it. I thought you might be interested. Machu Picchu Mountain, the lost city of the Incas.
That's what Wendy's flying field looks like now.
That's his apartment, that's what it looks like inside.
It's my new house.
Bradley's parking lot.
Looks like it. Looks like a stunt circle. I don't think. The height of these mountains is tremendous. Tremendous height.
That's great, Joe.
Hey, Bill Simon, is that your plane? Bill Simon P-40 Warhawk. Beautiful plane. Also from that time area. Oh, this is Airborne. Dean Schaefer.
Yes.
That's me again, yeah. All right, there's a beautiful view of Machu Picchu. You can see how high those mountains are. Okay, this is Flushing Meadow Park. That's my son Alex when he was much younger than he is today, well, 20 years ago. And that's a Bijou string. Yeah, we flew that plane a lot out there. Hey, Vic, isn't this a great shot?
Machu Picchu.
The original Crusader. The landing gear was wider, different landing gear, a little bit.
Whole different airplane.
There it is in a little better sky. That's one picture I told you that I like. Yeah. The
Oh, I see.
That was a fine airplane.
Bill Simons, was that yours again?
That's mine, Joe. Look at that cockpit detail. That should remind you guys.
All right, I want to show you some cockpit
Who'd you
details.
steal those seats from?
Oh, who was this? Who was this plane?
That was Joe Radel, wasn't it?
No, that was Joe Atwell.
From Pennsylvania.
Joe Atwell, yeah.
Joe Atwell.
Tanks now.
Real scale.
We were at a contest one time, and the judge was holding up a clipboard, and he was on a long line, and he knocked a clipboard right out of the judge's hand. He had to say right there.
That's Bob Hunt. This is also from Transpo 72. That's the Red Arrows. Yeah. Machu Picchu. That's me down there. See me down there?
Who the hell is that guy?
This is Gene Schaefer's plane again.
Stunt machine. Stunt machine.
Yeah, the stunt machine. Mitch, that's what it looked like, Mitch. Mitch is got one built already. Mitch is on his second one.
The airplane's in Tucson.
That's one of my first comeback tryouts of coming back to flying. That was a Midwest kid.
Machu Picchu.
That's my other son, Ronald. He's younger than Alex, and he was trying to get involved with it. Not too much.
T-square?
Yeah, it was a fleet one. A fleet one, I believe it was. Similar. This is
Vic Macalusso's rockets.
oh, here's a flight. Hey, I think that's a Crusader, Vic. I think so. I think Crusader had a... Well, that's it, yeah. I believe that's a Crusader.
That's the Incan Air?
Yeah, see yourself at the bottom there? No, that's Bob Lampion. Bob, that's you. See yourself down there? That's Bob Lampion.
Probably a cigarette hanging out right now.
I gotta film another one. How old is it?
This was in 71 or 72. 72.
Tell them a story about the stabilizer on this thing.
Oh yeah. The corkscrew built it?
That's me on Fifth Avenue.
This is Joey when he's a
This is RC, I just drew that in there, an RC plane.
Hold up.
Bob, that's you again.
That's how it floats.
That's Bob Lampione.
Oh, this is the All-American.
Hey!
Bill Simon, is that the All-American? Oh, the Yankee. Oh, the Yankee. Fifth Avenue, the parade.
Machu Picchu.
Which one is you, Joe?
There it is. Oh, this is the Panther that I built a few years ago.
And that's Joe's old kitchen floor?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was the way I took the picture. What happened here? All right. Stop machine again. This is after Alex had a good flight. He was pretty happy that day.
I had a haircut.
There you are, the cockpit of Lampione.
That's the 35 side.
The smaller one, okay. More close.
Pinhead. Pinhead.
Map heads.
Yeah, red print, that's another one he stole from me.
This is Pennsylvania,
It looks like after a bad flight.
This was when I went to the 71 RC in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Yeah. This is Transpo again in the Washington Dulles Air Force Base, or Dulles Base. Curtis Wright.
Where's the vertical CG on that?
How about this?
Big Jim engine.
That's Paul Walker's new starship.
The first pattern master. The fastest car, this was a jet car.
Low aspect ratio wing.
How about this? This is the X-15, yeah.
That weighs is what's look at.
5 Cs again.
Hey, go back one, will you, Joe?
Yeah.
You like that, huh, Bob?
That was before.
That airplane had a real flexible stab in it. And Art Adamison saw it and told Lampione, he says, you know, that stab's going to break. That thing's flexing like crazy. And Bob convinced him that he had some kind of pulley system in there to do that automatically.
That's Bob, always a salesman.
By the way,
Brooklyn Bridge.
Art Adamison sends his regards to everybody.
This is also the Red Arrows at Transpo 72.
That's good. That's Hank Womble.
I don't know whose plane this was.
I think Hank Womble's airplane.
Whose plane is that, Bob?
I think that was the stunt show. I think it was Hank Womble. I think that is you.
Oh, there's Yankee. I knew it was here somewhere.
Who's Yankee?
Andy?
Wasn't that Bill Simons? No?
Whose number? Wendy, you're good at these numbers. Whose number?
No, don't know.
I'll tell you something.
Which one of your kids is that?
I'll tell you something about this. I'll tell you something about this picture. This is a fortune-telling monkey in the streets of Lima, Peru. And what he does is you give him a quarter and he gives you a fortune out of a box. But I wanted his picture. Well, when he saw the camera, he turned around and looked away from the camera. He didn't want me to take the picture, so I had to wait a few minutes there till he finally turned around. He turned around and looked at the camera. I shot the picture. So I got him. But I had to pay him. I had to give the guy $1 to take the picture. Hey, this is for Windy.
Pattern.
Where's Windy? Windy, I rode that train. That's an old steam engine in Peru. That's their modern transportation nowadays. At the stops, they had to get out and oil the wheels with big oil cans. They get out and oil the wheels.
They always do that to
Yeah,
steam
every
engines.
stop, they get out, guys, and they oil the wheels. Some train. This is the Machu Picchu mountain. It's the
Dave
statue
Cook.
that sits up there. Which I thought was a nice picture. I just thought you'd like to see some of these things. Bob, this is the 35 again, huh?
Yeah, that's a 35.
Hey, there's Bob Lampion. The real Bob Lampion.
Get away!
That's it?
No! Hey, Joe, those are Luke Perry sideburns. Are you serious?
That looks like a Slim Fast at the time. I lost 30 pounds on Slim Fast.
Hey, Bob, I bet you didn't even know I took that picture. I didn't know you then. I said,
He was holding his gun in, too. Another picture.
This is a Marietta glider, space glider.
Yeah, looking body.
Yeah. There I am again.
That's Billy Suarez.
Joe, did you ever go to Machu Picchu?
That's me again.
Yeah, that's Billy Suarez.
Oh, sun machine, a little close up the nose there.
Pinhead.
Crushing metal box. When it looks good. This is,
That was the Queen Stuntmasters.
Queen Stuntmaster meet?
Right.
Okay.
That looks like Steve Busso in a long arm thing.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, there's Vic, there's Vic, there's Bob.
It's me standing by the table.
Yeah. I don't know who that is.
Nice shot.
Inverted.
I was putting the slides back together late at night. That's how you got a lot of these crazy pictures. This Vic explains to the judges. No, this is the latest contest. This is recent, isn't it?
No, that's in 1970.
No, Vic, isn't that Don Herdman in it?
No,
No?
no. Hey, Joe, notice the black hair?
Hey, Steve, you sure that ain't going to black outfit? Hey, what about you?
Indiana Ortiz.
Indiana Jones, yeah, Indiana Ortiz, that's great.
This is, I believe this is Blue Angels at Coney Island.
Thunderbirds.
Thunderbird. That's the Thunderbird, yeah, that's right.
Is that the 35 size ship?
35 size Thunderbird. No, this was at Jones Beach.
They're not
Jones
all going to
Beach.
fit in there, I can tell you
Hey,
that.
there's Peggy. See Peggy back there with the glasses? That's what she looks like. See her? Behind the Douglas?
Yeah.
There's the Douglas DC-3 and my son Douglas with the prop. He's going to flip the prop any minute now.
Wait a minute. He looks like one of the Marx brothers.
He loves that hat. He loves that hat. And that's when I was a little thinner, I think. That's on that Great Bridge thing going to Virginia Beach. And that's my Volkswagen, 1970. That's a 70 Volkswagen, so that's what
Who's
it
that in the
was.
back?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
I can't tell you that. I think Peggy would get a little angry at that if I said who she was. Yeah, this is at Martin Marietta. What'd you say that was, Steve? A gliding body? A lifting body? Yeah. A Model T Ford or a Ford. And that's my presentation, folks. Thank you very much. I have to go back to the first one to profit for this.
He's the monkey.
All right, now I'll pop it up.
Thank you, Joe. That was great.
50 years from now, somebody's going to cut across all my pockets.
Bob, don't shut the fan off. Just let the bulb.
Super cycle. Look at all my shit. Put it out.
Is,
Somebody's going to come across those pictures.
Mike Rogers around?
Machu Picchu.
Oh, this was from
Mike, can you pick up your airplane and tell us about it? Please, please.
Come on, Mike. Tell us how you designed the paint job.
In the meanwhile, if I can get a little bit of help, I'm going to pass some index cards, have them pass them down each row, and I'll tell you what they're for in a little bit.
I didn't know. First, just got to tell you, watch the screen. This is going to be the last time I do an elaborate tasting.
Sure.
Yeah, we've heard that. We're all sure.
Monaco.
Hey, Mike, Tom, I gotta set up for you. It's all set.
This is a version of a 46 Patternmaster, which Jim and I worked out for this season. It's got 57 inches of wingspan and weighs about 54 ounces of long. And basically it's just a scaled down version of the big one. Yeah. Close enough. Okay. So it's a scaled down version of the big Patternmaster. A little smaller than the 46 size would render, but we figured that the thickness of the wing would carry the weight. So we didn't have a problem with it. I think one of the unusual things about this airplane for me is the way I paint it. Since I have built heavy airplanes in the past, remember my 82-ounce Patternmaster was very heavy, but it flew okay. I didn't want to build this one heavy, and the smaller you build an airplane, the easier it is to make it heavier. Right. So we decided we were going to try and put a 6-ounce finish on the airplane, and the only way to do that was really to skip on the paint. And the way I accomplished that was, after the plane was put into raw wood, I put 1 coat of clear dope on the wood. Okay. And normally you would put 2 coats of clear dope on the wood. I just put 1 coat straight out of the can of Sig Light Coat Clear, and immediately went to the 00 Silkspan right after that. And you would think that it would not adhere, but it actually does. It adheres very well. I put 1 coat of clear dope on top of the 00 Silkspan and 1 coat of talc, sanded that out, and went right to the color after that. So it's not much of a finish coat underneath, but we used the idea that instead of getting the finish perfect in silver, we'd let the coats of paint, as they went on, fill the dry paper or fill the grain as necessary. And it worked out. So what we were concerned about is if we didn't put silver on the airplane, which we didn't, we went right over the talc, which was done in orange, so it had a lot of mix of wood and orange paint all over the airplane. We were wondering whether or not the orange would actually go on opaque. So Wendy had turned me on to using pigment, which I had used on last year's airplane on the white, and I figured I'd try it again. So I went out and went to an auto body supply house and picked up some pigment, and I mixed it 50% pigment with 50% Sig Orange. Now that in itself seems like it would be pretty thick, but then I thinned the whole thing 50%. And it went on beautiful with a touch-up gun. You could even use an airbrush and it would have gone on fine. But what that enabled to happen was to go on instantly without having to use a lot of color. And the whole finish after that with the coats of clear weighed 6 ounces. So it is possible to get a light finish and to get the grain filled without doing a lot of preparatory work underneath the color dope. So that worked out well. The yellow on the airplane was the only area that I had to undercoat with white in order to get the yellow to look bright. If I had tried going over silver or orange or any other color, it would have looked really dull. So I prepped the yellow with some silver, then white, and then I shot the yellow. And Wendy also gave me another idea. He tends to black off the colors so he doesn't overpaint. In other words, if he's going to do a yellow trim, he'll do that separately, then put the orange behind it. And that actually does save weight. But the trick is to use a white base whenever using a color like yellow or a color that has to be bright. And that's really all there is that's unique about this one that I did. Very straightforward, actually.
What kind of clear coat do you have?
Sig Light Coat. I know you had problems with that. You said to add some orange in the, well, you got to check it before you put it on.
How much did you buy?
I did it by weight. In order to get the 6-ounce finish, I figured so much for the undercoat, so much for the color, and so much for the clear. As soon as it weighed that particular amount, I stopped putting on the paint. And what it comes to is about 2 ounces of clear. Once it's gassed off and rubbed out, it comes down to about 1.5 ounces. So, any questions about the plane?
Also about the boxes.
The boxes?
Checkerboard.
Oh, don't do them. Believe me, it's not worth it. The problem with doing checkerboard, I find, is you have to use tremendous amounts of tape because you have to do a stripe, then put the black in, the back mask, pull off tape, and it's very time consuming. So what I decided to do is all the small squares, like on the body, and on the back part of the wing where the squares are very small, I'll show them to you. I just put the white in, and then I inked in with black. And that works out great. The larger squares on the wing, I had to use masking tape. Well, I used the white masking tape, cut it with a razor, do one line at a time, and just hope for the best. How come you didn't tell me that before I did it?
As soon as you finish, you'll tell me.
I knew that too.
You knew that, right? Checkerboard is very difficult to do.
We see the bottom.
Okay. Very simple bottom. Most people don't see it anyway. So I figured, Steve wanted me to put stars along the orange behind the black line. And I said, the hell with that idea.
You made the right move.
Right.
Did you have your motor head anodized or how did you apply?
No, this is a Big Jim motor that he actually had for his own personal use on one of his LJs. And I guess Wendy had done the anodizing a number of years ago. And 46. And
Castor oil and propane
Homemade.
Wendy promised he was going to anodize a spinner and a muffler for me this year to kind of pull it all together.
Blue.
Nice looking job.
Thanks.
Very good, Michael. You owe me.
Okay.
Don't forget.
Very nice.
Thanks, Mike. We got a few more things relatively serious to do, and then we're going to end it up with a slideshow from Tucson. And the first thing is a Pampa report, and I also want to, is Mike Harovich here? Where is he?
Yeah.
He wasn't here?
Around.
Yeah, I'm going to follow him, he's around. There he is.
In the back. We got you.
I just want to say that the past election, Mike and I were both up against each other. And I don't think I won or Mike lost for any particular reason, except there were probably less participation in voting than there should have been. And I thank those who did vote for me, and I thank those who voted for Mike, because Mike's a pretty cool guy too. And I'll leave that at there, but I wanted to acknowledge that Mike is, he's just as worthy of being in the office as I am. In the meanwhile, we'll get on to want to do a little bit of Pampa business, because we want to let you know what's going on within Pampa and what Pampa can do for you and can do for stunt and control line. And so here comes our vice, as Ted Fancher called him. Or we can call him Stevie B.
Look out. Here comes the police. Snap-on Tools calendar. It's a must for every officer of Pampa. I think we all use a small one. Snap-on Tools calendar, as you can see right here. My favorite is, there she is, June. Okay, in all seriousness, Pampa being a bureaucracy, politics, hot air, all talk, dry words, all the other things you think Pampa may be true at times. Sure. Politics can be pretty dry, politics can be pretty blah, pretty unexciting, but lately, in the last few months only, just the last few months, we have been more politically, seriously politically active than at any other time in the existence of Pampa. We are in the process of doing some major things on our own and with AMA. Let me get my cheater sheet out here. I did take notes for this one. First off, and I'll get it out of the way fast, is that you remember all the team t-shirts. Anybody got a team t-shirt on right now? No. Because you all have them at home, right? No, it's the FAI 92 stunt team. Oh, you got Mark? You got one? There you go. All right, he wins. All right, well, we still happen to have a few left. About 80. About 80 of them. But we're going to make them, the ones that we've already bought, obsolete. Plus we're reducing the price, I think, to $10. That's been reduced earlier. This is a sales pitch, folks. Sorry, but we're making the old ones obsolete because almost all the shirts are somewhere between Paul Walker and Billy Werowich's house. Paul has signed them all. Billy is signing them all. He's sending them to Bob. We were hoping they were going to be here today, signed, and we have signature series from now on for sale, all right? Tom Morris will be advertising them in Stunt News and all that. It's a gimmick, sure. You know, it's last year's model with a new option on it, okay? But please, if you don't have one, if you only have two, get another one, all right? Thanks. That's the sales pitch there.
$10 a piece and 2 for $5.
2 for what? 5? No. It's inventory, it's money on the shelf. We got to get rid of them. All right?
Steve just declared the other one's obsolete.
They are.
Anybody work?
That's right. Sorry, Mark. Last day you can wear them is today. Okay.
Well, I'll sign yours here, Mark, and then you only have to go to Berea and on out to Washington. Okay.
Okay.
You get a discount this time?
Let's start off with, how do we do this? All right. Sequence here. Hall of Fame. We've gone through one voting of the Hall of Fame. We inducted 4 charter members. This is the Control Line Precision Aerobatics Hall of Fame, commonly referred to as the Pampa Hall of Fame. And of course we elected George Aldrich and Win Paul, Bob Palmer, and Jim Walker. Again, their nominations are going to be open at the end of this year, again, for further inductees to be voted on by the officers and directors of Pampa. That'll be done next January, all right? But that ties into something. We've kind of completed the loop in a way. We're ready to have things displayed at the AMA Museum once they get up to speed out in Muncie, Indiana. We've got a duplicate Jim Walker plaque. We've made 2 of those. One was given to his wife, Dora Walker, and for display in the museum. And we finally got this one. This is the big plaque that will display a total at this one of 18 names. We have the first 4 there as charter members. All right. You're welcome to come up and take a look at it later. Plenty of space for names here, guys. All right. You gotta earn it though. It's just that simple. All right. So this will be on display later on. It will be on permanent display with the AMA Museum, which ties me into the next subject. Probably in next month's issue of Model Aviation, Vince Mankowski's column, there may be a photograph and a letter printed, hopefully verbatim, in Vince's column from Ted Fancher. You will find this out in a little bit more detail in the upcoming issue of Stunt News. I have mine. I know, Tom, you have yours. We're buckety mucks. We get it early. So we know what you guys are going to be complaining about. And what it is Pampa has decided, directors and officers have decided to become sustaining patrons of the AMA Museum out in Muncie. Sustaining means a donation of $500, initial $500 and $25 a year thereafter. This is for use in the AMA Museum only. Why did we do this? A, it's a good thing to do for the hobby. B, it guarantees Control Line Aerobatics to have a viable display there at all times. And C, kind of a political thing. We scratch your back, you scratch ours. All right. Again, there would be a picture of this plaque on handing a check over to Vince Mankowski for $500. This was done at the Ram Show back in February. All right, this is history. This is what we've been involved with. You will read in more detail in I think Ted's column in the Stunt News you'll be getting next week, I think. Now, why? Again, there's another reason that we did that. Rich Peabody, where are you? There you are. All right, he's the culprit. Rich Peabody did something about 9 months ago, 8 months, 6 months ago or so, that has kind of steamrolled in a way. He had an idea, maybe not an original idea. Other people have thought of it in the past, but he did one thing that nobody else did. He wrote it down, and he sent it to the people who need to know these things. He wrote down a letter. It was published in Stunt News about, gee, why doesn't Pampa have something at the Nats or something available for public relations, a brochure or some kind of informational piece? Well, as far as the directors are concerned, great idea. Next, what do we do about it? Well, we got to work on it. How do we pay for it? Well, how much is it going to cost? I've had umpteen discussions with Mankowski, Joe Bishar, regarding, gee, can the AMA help us out? And we have a verdict on that. We want to be able to produce a sales brochure. Basically what it is, selling stunt to experienced hobbyists, to the man on the street, to superintendent of school districts, if you want to get a field or keep a field, all right? Things to distribute at contests or just to have in your flight box when you're out there in the field practicing and some guy walks around and says, you know, I used to have a ringmaster with a, you know, Fox 35 on it. That's happened to me up in Red Hook, New York. And I had nothing to show him, nothing to give him, nothing. Good idea. The difference is he wrote it down and we're doing something about it. I've put together, I've only got a couple left here, but I've put together prototypes of this brochure that we are coming out with. It's a, again, prototype here, black and white, no text in there. 8.5 by 14, folded 3 times. Everything you've always wanted to know about stunt, but we're afraid to ask. Kind of corny? Yes. Memorable? Yes. All right. It's schmaltz, it's sales, it's informational. What we have on it is pictures, text, little history, classic, OTS, flight information. We even show the whole pattern will be on there. Typical control systems, some international ideas, pictures of stunt news. As you can see, got a zap machine, a whole mess of cardinals in here, but that's what I happen to have laying around at the time. And this will be produced in many ways thanks to the AMA. I've been dealing with Jay Neely of the AMA's Public Relations Department. This is getting dry. Are we getting dry here? What would it cost us to produce 8,000 of these? Between $4,000 and $5,000. That's the price quotes I've got. God, that's all the money in the world that we have. We can't possibly afford that. Of course we can't possibly afford it. I wanted the AMA to pay for the whole thing. Everything. Why not? We're a special interest group. We've run the Nats, we've run the trials, we do all these things, we keep people involved in stunt. We're getting more people involved in stunt. Why don't they do something for us? Why don't they pay for the whole thing? Good question. Asked a lot of people. Talked with Joe Bishar, talked with Vince Mankowski. Good reason. AMA is almost broke. Almost doesn't mean they're ever going to go broke, all right? But they have a cash flow problem because of mainly the move to Muncie. Bad timing for us. That's what it boils down to. Bad timing for us for them to pay the whole shot. But what they will do for us, and the AMA, or the Pampa officers and directors have just voted unanimously to go through with, is that they will provide all their graphic arts department and all their wherewithal to put together the final camera artwork ready masters for us. We give them the raw material, the photographs, the text, any drawings that we want included in it. They will put it together. We'll edit it, we'll proof it, we'll make sure that's what we want. And they will produce 8,000 of these units, full color. Full color. This is going to be a Class A brochure, better than anything the AMA has ever put out. All right? And Pampa to the tune of $1,845. We are going through with this. They will be available at the Nats. Rick Campbell is down from New Hampshire, makes his apologies, couldn't make it today. He and I hammered out the text last Saturday in my office. So it's just a matter of the last bits of photographs. I've gone through 3,000, and we're pretty much ready to roll. So by the Nats, we'll have brochures. And Rich Peabody, thank you for a good idea, and thank you for sending the letter. If you want something done, write it down, send it. That's one of the things Pampa's doing. Another thing.
Steve,
yes.
Are those only going to be given out at the Nats?
No, these will be available for any individual that wants them, any club that wants them, any contest that wants them. These are free to Pampa members. All right? I think every Pampa member should get 3 or 4 right off the bat. Keep them in your flight box. All right? So we've gone over the Hall of Fame, the brochure, the shirts, Another thing the AMA has decided and will probably be going through with for the very first time, something that will benefit Pampa directly, is in their renewals for 1994. They will be including in their renewals Pampa membership applications. Also other special interest group applications too. They want to help memberships in all their officially recognized special interest groups. And it goes out to, what, 160,000 people. Modelers, active modelers to a degree. So we're going to have a great deal of exposure at the end of this year and may see 100, maybe 200 more members right at the end of the year, beginning of 1994. We've got about 800 members right now, and I've told Ted and Tom Morris that I predict by the end of 1994 we'll probably have about 1,400. And 1,400 members has a hell of a lot of clout, both politically and financially. We'll be able to really do things like the brochure. We can afford it. We can do this for the membership. And lastly, I think maybe most importantly, because I need your help. Not just me, but I've kind of come into the lion's den here, because I've got guts or stupidity, I'm not sure which is worse. Talked with Bruce Gifford a few weeks ago. He's the Nats event director. Bruce Gifford needs help in very specific areas for the Nats. Who's going? Come on, don't chicken out on me. Who's going? Might go is good enough. All right, at this point, might go. Andy Lee might go, okay? Good. Bruce has some spots open for help. This is like one day only type stuff. He is in very much need of an old-time stunt event director. One day, you can fly in it if you want to. I know it's Pampa rules. It's not Circle Burners rules. All right, that's East Coast. It's the Nats. They use Pampa rules, a little bit different scoring. We know the history on that. We need an event director there. That's Monday of the Nats. Any volunteer, please. Look at all those hands. Holy mackerel. Need an event director, old-time stunt. You'll do it, Jen? So, you got that on tape?
I got it on
Good.
tape. Good. You want to buy a tape?
Thank you.
Want to buy a video cassette?
Right, this is great. This is great. I'm on a roll here. All right, that's nothing. We need an old-time stunt judge. Just one. We already got one. We need one more. One more old-time stunt judge. Volunteer. Volunteer. This is Monday. It's going to take up most of the flying day. Let's face it. All right, I'll be judging nostalgia, or sorry, classic, over on the other circle. All right, need one OTS judge.
Hey, Steve, my son Douglas is going to be there judging regular. He said he might want to do that. So.
Oh, he will do that. Okay,
Thanks
right,
for volunteering,
all right.
I have it on video too, Dave.
Okay, and one more job, a fun job, a fun job.
A train dude.
No, no, better. Old time and classic pit boss. Yanking bell cranks out the wingtips of original 35-year-old airplanes. Come on, come on, Bob Hunt, huh? No?
Can you bring your pit bull?
No. What, Dave?
I said, we'll supply a whip just to keep guys moving.
Pit boss, tough job, gotta keep them moving. This is two events simultaneously based out of about one pit. We need one pit boss. All right, that's what he needs. So, we've got the event director. We still need a full-time stunt judge and a pit boss.
We
For
also
that.
need two regular judges.
Right. Two regular judges.
A few more regular judges. If anybody's going to be out there and you want a judge, get in touch with me.
Please. Dave is the chief judge there, and hey, the Nats is built on volunteers. Let's face it. Without your help, it just won't happen. It just won't happen the way it has. I think that's it for most of the Pampa information. Oh, and just a note to Joe Adamusco. Joe, where are you? Joe, your Bucks Deluxe is going to be on the cover of the brochure. I just thought of that. I got a great picture of it. All right? going to be on the cover, John?
Because it has an elliptical wing?
That helps,
That helps.
because it's different.
It smells like amberwood.
That's too.
And they don't have a picture of the Crusader.
Right. Because it's because of the title of it, the Bucks Deluxe. It's intriguing. Intriguing. And that's something that we really have in this event. We got intrigue, all right? And one last editorial before you kick me off the stage here is that there has, over the years, and I think we're slowly overcoming it, over the years I've detected an attitude towards what we do, or a lack of pride. Gee, that sounds pretty big, you know, a lack of pride. It's almost like we've been hiding. You know, hiding in little places, hiding in schoolyards, hiding here, hiding there, you know, we haven't really wanted to make waves. Well, why not? Why not? We're the first special interest group to ever to do anything like this. Nothing like this brochure has ever been done before, and it's going to cause waves. Expect it, because there's other special interest groups that want the same kind of service. Thing is, we do have some ins with the AMA that perhaps they don't. We've been doing background work. But with this, we're going to sell the event. We're going to get more people in. Continue. We're going to get more memberships. We're going to get more flyers, and for good reason, because it's a damn good event and it's a thrill. All right. So sell the event to your friends. Get other people to join Pampa. That's it for me. Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
That's the first color, and we have to let this dry, and then we'll work on the other colors. And the next color we want to